Okay, so I've already had to stop the video and shout at Eric. He was being peculiar over there. Oh dear, never mind. Hi guys, morning. I thought I'd record a stitch with me. I meant to do it yesterday, but didn't get round to it in the end, and I'm not entirely sure why I didn't get round to it. So I'm going to split this little video up into, I think, maybe 3 little sections. There's going to be a little stitch with me, and I'm going to put in the video of making my frame, and there's also a few little clips of when I took the girls out shopping. So there's a couple of little clips there which I'll put in after this little stitch with me, and then I'm going to try maybe at the end, if I can find what I need later on, to do a little knit with me, because I've made something that I want to. I've made a scissor fob, but I want to knit one of my little animals to go at the end of it, at the end of the scissor fob, which I think's what I want to do when I make scissor fobs. They'll either have a little Fimo that Lizzie, my middle daughter, has made, a little dingle dangle hanging from it that my daughter's made, or I'm going to knit one of my little animals. I do apologise, I've got a little frog in my throat. This is my second go at starting my stitch with me, but yeah, I had a little frog in my throat. It was actually driving me bananas, so I've stopped and restarted. I don't think anything I said had very much consequence to it at all. It was just bumbling. So if you're stitching along, that's great. So not a lot going on here at all. I'm still humming and hawing about doing the Dreaming Girl Sal. I mean, I want to do it, but oh, what's happened here? Oh, I've got a little knot. There we go. I want to do it, but I haven't actually just got round to sorting the pattern and just doing it, if you see what I mean. And I've got so many other things on that I really need to. I've come totally halfway into the hole there. This is a great start, isn't it? Hey, I'll come and show you how I stitch. Oh dear, I've made 12 mistakes in the first 12 stitches. Right, that's that fixed. Although I have got a knot. That means it's at the end of my, there. That's what's making me pull funny. There we go. So I'm still debating the Dreaming Girl Sal. I'm probably just going to download her and start her. I think I'll change up most of the colours, but if I do her, but I just haven't quite got round to doing it yet. I've just got loads of other things to do. I've started the stitches on the Bountiful bookshelf. It's Outlander this month, which I believe requires 8,400, I think, stitches to be put into a piece, which is going to be my Bountiful bookshelf. I put in, I think, it was either 600 or 800 stitches the day before yesterday. Oh, it's a very bad stitch there. So I've started. And then the Treasure Hunt bookshelf will be one of the books, and then my poor old Kingdom of Books, which I haven't touched in forever, will be the other book. And I need to get that first page finished on my Bountiful bookshelf, and then move along to the next one and start something different on it, some different colours, because I've basically been backgrounds and blues so far. And it's such a beautiful, colourful piece that I just need to do some stitches on it. I'm talking myself into it here. I think I'm going to pick it up later and put some stitches into it. So yesterday I also picked up my new normal, my long dog sampler, because it's not had any stitches put into it for a long time, and it doesn't yet look like it's achieving its potential. If you see what I mean. Sometimes when you start a long dog sampler, you know immediately that you adore it and you just want to stitch on it more and more and more. Because I'm really controlling where I'm putting the colours on this one, because it's all those, I need to put a piece of tape on that piece of pipe just to keep it nipped up tight. I've done this leg, so this leg doesn't come out. I've put some tape around the edges of the pipe just to make them that little bit tighter, make it a tighter fit. It was by the by, it's just its leg just dropped out on me. What was I talking about? Actually got no idea. Oh, that's terrible, isn't it? No idea. Right, believe it or not, I had to just stop the video, go back and listen to what I was talking about, because I've sat there racking my brains and I couldn't remember. So that's how quickly my brain turfs out information. Yes, the new normal, because I've done a lot of frogging on it, because I've put a colour on and it hasn't looked right, so I've taken it out and then I changed the background colour, and so I've had a lot of toing and froing with it, so I haven't really got into the flow of it yet. And I think I need to just get out of the corner I'm working in, you know, finish off the bubbles that I'm working in and get on to the next bit. And I think then it's going to be like really fly. I'm in the same situation with Castles in the Air, which I absolutely love. And I love the fabric and I love the floss, but every time I sit down to stitch on it, I make mistakes. I make horrid mistakes and frog it and do it again and make another mistake and have to frog it and do it again. So I've got two that are kind of stalled. Now I can pick up Anzac, I can pick up Dilemma, I can pick up my Pilgrim and Pandemic, which I admittedly don't stitch on very often at all, but I can pick any of them up and I just stitch on them and it's brilliant and I thoroughly enjoy stitching on them. But I've got two that are sort of, they don't stress me out, but I'm conscious that they're not as enjoyable as the other ones, so I need to fix it. I need to get past the bits I'm on. I need to get past where I am with them so that I can get to a place where it feels enjoyable to stitch. I'm just, with the new normal, it's getting past the colours that I've constantly changed and fudged and changed and fudged. I need to just get on with it, get past those bits. Okay, we've got a cat scratching in a litter tray, if you can hear that. It is in a completely different room to me, but it's probably Clive. Looking at the evidence that he's not in here with me, it's probably Clive. It's a bit cold this morning for him to go outside. He's getting very old. You know when a cat starts to look a bit tufty, like he doesn't really bother to clean himself anymore. He's beginning to look a bit like that, but he's still a lovely, grumpy old boy. He's taken to sitting on the back of the sofa at the moment, so thus interfering with anybody who's around in the living room, as opposed to the laundry basket he was sleeping in for a couple of months, you know, and they suddenly just change their minds and pick a new place. Yeah. Luckily for him, Eric's new place is in my window, on a pile of old clothes in my bedroom. Right. So anyway, yes, I just need to get on with the new normal and with Castles in the Air as well. I mean, that's monochrome. It's just the fact that I keep making mistakes in Castles in the Air. So I just want to I want to stitch past the place that I keep having to frog out, get past it, move on to the next bit so that it's enjoyable again. So the pair of those I'm going to have to work on a bit this week, just to get myself to a place where I'm happy stitching on them. New normal last night I put in, I'm just trying to finish off one of the bubbles. It's the bubble with the swan and the kittens in it. And I'm very nearly done with it actually. And once I finished that bubble, I've got a little bit of the background, which is the greys, and I keep looking at it and thinking, right, that's going to be this grey, that's going to be the other grey. So I've sorted out in my mind which bit I'm going to do where. So that's that bit going along. So that's good. Right, Clive is back next to me now on the arm of the chair. So it was him in the litter box, so hopefully his feet are clean. Can't see from here. Don't want to interfere with him because he'll probably swear at me. Right. I'm just marking off my stitches there. What have I done? I've gone across there, done that bit. Right, I've done that bit. I've done those two. Oh, I've done quite a lot. Okay. So you probably know if you watch me, but this piece here is called Landscape number 73, and I just got it from a little, she's either Russian or she's Ukrainian or something, you know, on Etsy. The pattern was just a couple of pounds. 2x2, 2x2 cross stitch, I think it was called, the Etsy seller. And she's got an awful lot of these very pretty, highly coloured, circular, you know, they're meant to be finished into a hoop. Mine's going to be about the size of a dinner plate because I'm doing mine on 16 count. After starting it on what I found out was 28 count. Mine is on 16 count now, so it's going to be quite large, so I probably won't finish it in a hoop. I mean, I can certainly get a hoop big enough. Maybe I'll finish it in a hoop. But judging by my current finishing rate, it's probably going to get, the stitching will get finished and it'll get left for indefinite time scale. Like my two completely finished, fully finished long dogs, which are sitting in a pile waiting to be framed. And I've got a man who can make me frames, and yeah, I still haven't done it. You know, it's not like it's going to cost me anything to do it, but I still haven't done it. Which just says an awful lot about my personality, I'm afraid. Right, so there we are. So I think I've said over and over again, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, only I've had to start and stop the video several times. I had a complete false start where I've blabbered for about 15 minutes and then realised that, one, I was talking absolute uninteresting nonsense, much more than normal, and two, I had this terrible frog in my throat and I just felt like I was needing to cough all the time, and I'm sure you could hear it in my voice. So yeah, at the minute I'm working on a pattern keeper pattern that I have on my tablet because I use my phone to record. Now I can record on other things, it's just the editing app and all of my YouTube's all on my phone, so it's ever so much easier for me to just record it on my phone, edit it on my phone and upload it from my phone to YouTube. So at the moment that's how I'm doing it. So unless it's in Pattern Keeper on my little cheapy Kindle Fire, I'm a bit stuck to do both. And I wanted to do a bit of my full coverage piece today, and you can see how I work. I am filling in wherever this colour is. It's cross country, I suppose. I don't have any hanging threads. Oh, I've done it again. Got barely enough of my needle. Right, let's see if I can do this easier this time. Don't know what they're doing next door. I just need to tuck my end in. Oh, can I see enough to do it? I can just about. As I say, when I'm up on my bed, it's dead easy to do because the legs of the frame, you can see I've got them crossed. I've got them crossed under my knees here, but the legs of my frame just sit really nicely. I've got a needle minder on it, why don't I just use it? I'm just going to readjust where I am here because I don't have a lot of give at the bottom. Right, you can see the piece of fabric barely fits. I think it's about 13 by 13, this piece of fabric, so it barely fits the 11 by 11 Q-snap. That might actually be a bit better. I've only got a single strand left, here, so I'll loop start this one, take the knot out of it to start with because we don't need that there. Right, how are we doing? Am I a little bit squint? There, I'm just trying to work up in this bit here so you can actually see it really well. We shall see. We shall see. Okay. Yeah, so when my fabric arrives, I haven't had any kind of dispatch from Wool Warehouse yet. They are snowed under with orders and they've got a lot of their staff members. I think a lot of them are related, so if one goes down, they all kind of have to isolate. I think that's how they're having problems at the moment, Wool Warehouse. I think they're quite, you know, they employ from family groups almost. So there's a little loop start there. I do my loop starts from the front as well because I found that much easier than fumbling around trying to thread my needle through a loop at the back. I'm very straightforward. Oh, I've not had my pattern keeper tucked under there and I couldn't see, so I've put that one in the wrong place. And even though the colour that's going to fill in next to it is almost identical, I'm still going to take it out and try and keep it right. I do have a 1 stitch counting error in the sky down here, but it is in the sky. 1 stitch is not going to make a great deal of difference, and if when I come to it it is a violently different colour, which it's not going to be because these are all toning in beautifully to each other, if it is a wildly different colour, I'll just make sure that whatever it is is got a nice straight, a nice smooth edge to it. If it is like the side of something like the piece of branch or something, I'll make sure my mistake isn't just a random stitch by itself somewhere. I'll just make sure it's fixed. But I try as much as possible when I'm using pattern keeper to actually put my stitches in the right places because otherwise what's the point of using it? Yeah, so we're coming on to February. I think I might have said this bit already. If I have, I will edit it out. You'll notice that my stitching has all changed, but I'm thinking about starting to grow things. So every year I start out with great gusto. I raise my little baby plants up, I get the seeds going. I've got a little hot plate, like a propagator, which is like a very mild heat pad in a little tray that you put your seeds, you put your seeds up and you put them on the propagator bed, and it just helps them get going a bit faster. And I get them started off in the house and I grow them up and then they slowly go outside. So this year, and what happens every year without fail, is I raise my plants, everything's wonderful, and I always plant too much. Every year I plant too much, and then everything's wonderful, I keep on top of everything, and then it turns into a jungle and gets abandoned. And then about a month after I abandon everything, of course it all needs harvesting, so then I'm fighting through a jungle trying to pick beans and things like that. So I don't grow masses of stuff. I've tried ever so much over the years to grow all sorts of unusual items, and now we need to grow tomatoes, cucumbers, as many cucumbers as I can, because Flora eats them like they're going out of fashion. She's always just snacked on cucumbers, and obviously homegrown ones are amazing. So some tomatoes, cucumbers. I usually try and grow a pepper or a couple of chilies, but they never work because we're so far north here in England. We're so far north that the whole temperature system is different. You know, we are a couple of weeks behind a lot of the rest of the UK, south of us, England, and bits of Wales that are south of us. We are a couple of weeks behind in things growing just because of how far north we are. So what else do I like to grow every year? I usually grow some beetroot. I usually grow beans. not runner beans, because nobody really likes those, because they're always stringy. Even when they're not meant to be stringy, they're always stringy. The French beans, you know, the ones, green beans that are round. They're about that long, and they're round and only about a quarter of an inch diameter. We like those. We eat a lot of those. The guinea pigs certainly like them. So that's my old boy finding his cozy spot. I'll turn the camera up to him when I finish so that you can see him when he's cuddled himself down. So they're always good. And then I grow courgettes, zucchini. We call them courgettes. And we can get through an awful lot of courgettes, so it's always good to have a couple of plants of those. Except I don't plant a couple, I plant about 10, and then I've got these straggly little plants that don't have enough room, and I end up abandoning it. So this year I'm literally going to grow just enough, like one green courgette plant, one yellow courgette plant, one of the ones that makes the little flat ones called patty pans that are rather cute. But I'm only planning on having one. I will plant 2. See, I'm immediately changing my mind. I will plant 2 seeds in case one doesn't germinate. And then at the very most I'll have is 2 plants. Now I have a polytunnel, which I have had up in my garden for, this is either its 3rd year or its 4th year. I couldn't even tell you for sure. I think we put it up the 1st year, I didn't grow anything in it. And then I had a year where it kind of failed inside because I was still digging out the ground and inside it. And then last year would have been the first really good year, except I abandoned. And we were in lockdown and I was at home and there was really no reason for me to abandon. But it's what I do. I'm just going to finish off this little thread. That was only a short one because I used the loop start on that one, so it was only half the length. But I only had the one strand left. So this year the aim is to not abandon, is to grow enough so that I've got some vegetables and not so much that it turns into a jungle and gets so overcrowded that I abandon it. I mean, it's not even a case of the watering or anything why I abandon, because it's it's got an irrigation system. What I'll do, what I'm wanting to do from here on in, is every day set a timer on my phone for 1 hour and go outside for an hour. I've got an awful lot of work I need to do outside. I've got a living willow. I've got a living willow hedge and arch, and we're growing like a little hut out of living willow. It's going to be easier if I just take you out and show you, but I'm so ashamed because I'm so messy. And when I say I'm messy, not like some people say, oh, it's so messy and it's like as neat as a pin. I am like a hoarder. If you think of the hoarder next door and those hoarding buried alive, we are halfway between being an ordinary family household and we're halfway to hoarding buried alive. And there's no rubbish. It's not like I'm hoarding actual rubbish. It's just stuff. It's too many people with too many hobbies squeezed into a tiny little house, and none of us are very bothered. I clean and tidy when it drives me insane. And I know that's really, there's a phrase, it's called a slattern. And if you've ever been on Mumsnet, which I was a Mumsnetter for years and years, I was part of a little community on there, which I stepped away from, just got too much, you know, but it's all public domain stuff. Yes, anybody who doesn't completely blitz their house from top to bottom, pull the fridge out, you know, do the skirting boards every day. I'm like, skirting boards? What? Who on earth are baseboards? Kickboards? Don't know what you call them. The bits around the... but the tidy between the floor and the walls, we call them skirting boards. Yeah, I don't clean those. I haven't even got skirting boards in some of my rooms because we don't finish jobs. We don't finish jobs, so the last little bits don't ever get done. I've still got bare plaster in my living room from where we had a leak in the bathroom, and it got saturated and had to come off. Found the leak in the end, got it fixed, and still bare plaster on my wall. You'd think I'd do better. I really could do better, but you know, there's so much stitching to do. Right, so here is the top. Look, change the subject quick before you find out awful things about me. Here's the top of my circle. So it's coming down, that's the edge as well. So I've got a bit more of this colour that's going to fit into here. So I'm just going to find out where that goes to. So it's that one there, stitches in that corner there. This is the only time I use grid lines quite heavily. I can see from Pattern Keeper that the first stitch of this block of colour goes right into the corner of that 10 by 10 block there. So this is this 16 count easy grid, which I find slightly blurry because the print runs down the middle of a stitch, and as we know, patterns aren't charted for the middle of a stitch, so I'm never quite sure whether the start of the block of 10 is to the left of the line or to the right of the line. So on this piece I've picked to the top and to the right, and I have drawn over with my erasable marker pen. This one's the very pale turquoise one, my old pen. I've drawn over them just so that I know exactly where I am with it. So you can probably, don't know if you can see that there's a blurry grey line and then there's a very fine turquoise line. That just helps me see where I am. So there's that. So I'll tell you what I'll do today. I'll go up to the Polytunnel. It's going to require a lot of clothing. It's going to be very cold, but it's not like I've no reason not to. I've got everything I need. My boots are by the back door. It's the conservatory door, so it's actually on the side. The back door of the house is in here, in the living room, weirdly enough. But we don't use this back door, hardly at all, because it mostly opens onto a jungle of nettles at the moment. It is a concrete floor outside, but you know, the nettles don't seem to need soil. They just run their roots along the concrete and that's them. As long as their roots are somewhere in the soil, I think from there they're in next door and they run across. I just need to pull the bloody things up. I will do. I need to spend an hour every day. Look, I can take an hour of my day and go outside. I need somebody to hold me to it. That's the problem. I need to be accountable, but I'm not. And there's no reason to be. Gosh, I've been up so long that the washing machine's finished already. That's the dog's bed that is in at the minute, so I'll set that to tumble and then they'll have a nice cosy. It's actually just an old blanket, one of Maddie's old furry blankets, which was brought down for laundry in clay. Vizslas have almost working hands. They can grab things and pull things, and they're very good. Anything within reasonable distance of him he collects, and he's also very big. He's a very big Vizsla. We don't know quite why he grew so large. But he's a very, very big Vizsla. And he acquired Maddie's fleecy blanket, furry blanket. She came down and she went, "Oh, my Totoro blanket." It's not, it's just like a grey brown furry blanket. I was like, yeah, the boys have got it now. And she's like, I don't want it back. So it's in the washing machine just now. So I'll set that to tumble and then they could have their blanket back down, which they'll be happy with. And then I'll sort this out and I might do a little as I see. Now I'm going to apologise yet again. Oh dear, I've come far too far across. Oh, far too far across. I've got quite a few stitches coming out here. It's because I'm thinking about other things, and there's a page. This little pattern is only over 4 pages. There's like one whole full page which comes all the way to there, and then like a tiny corner and a sliver at the bottom. And because I haven't taken the page breaks out of Pattern Keeper, I've seen the big black line and I've stitched right across to it, even though Oh, where's my stitch? Oh, where is my stitch? Have I got to come all the way across there? Okay, no, I'm going to have to take that out because that's the edge of the circle. So let's see if I can find which stitch it is. It's that stitch. Why is it that stitch? Because I stitch one stitch at a time, even on my full coverages, I'm a one stitch at a time every time. I've gone 2 stitches too far over both lines. It's very easy for me to frog, generally. As long as I haven't wombled too randomly with my stitches, it's very easy for me to frog because I only stitch one stitch at a time. If I'd have done legs one way and legs the other there, I'd have had that whole lot would have had to have come out. As you can see, I've frogged out 5 stitches. One of them was good and can go back in, and the rest of them were in totally because it's the edge of the, I even checked to see whether I could get away with it there, but that's the edge of the circle, so it would have had a little funny step in it there, and wouldn't have had a smooth line to the edge there if I'd have left them in there. So that's that fixed. So I'm coming down the 3rd one there. Okay, so I don't know how long this is now. I think this is probably going to be long enough, so I'm going to stop this here, and I'll pick you back up later on with my knitting. And I think we're going to knit a tiny pink pig, is what I'm planning. I'll just finish off this line so that I can mark it off and I know where I am with it. So I'm coming past that one to the line. Yes, there we go. So I've got in quite a few here. So this colour here looks like, well, there's still 540 stitches of this colour to go, so still quite a bit. There'll be quite a bit more in this piece of sky round here. I must put a piece of tape on the edge of that on the edge of that leg, because that leg keeps popping out. There we go, and then I'll be coming back up 1 stitch to the left there. There we are. So hopefully you've been able to see that. Hopefully I'm not talking too much drivel, and I'm just going to mark off what I've just done, that bit there. See, I'd filled in those 2 there as well, which I didn't need to do. There we are. So I've done 273 stitches, and this piece here is now at 37% completed. Let me give you a proper look at it. And that's how much of it I've done. That's 37%. So I've still got quite a lot to go. I've got that's the edge here. I've got the edge of the circles there, and then obviously it's going to come. Ooh, where's my magnet gone? There. Obviously it's going to come round and join up there. So there's that. So this is this stand, although it does work sitting on the sofa, is much better upstairs laying on the bed with the legs either side of me instead of crossed under my knees. So hopefully that's okay, and I will have to look through it, and I'll go and look in the polytunnel and see what mess that's in, and I'll give you a little view of that if I can. Maybe I'll do a quick bit each week and show you how we're coming along in there. There's actually snow falling outside. Ugh. I don't think we've got much. I think people down south from us in England have got an awful lot more, and America, crikey, I think you're in the midst of some sort of hideous frozen grip by the looks of things. I've got yesterday for me, because it's the 7th for me. I've got February the 6th, so you're still at night. You're still just early hours of the morning. So I've got last night's NBC News on the telly. Well, I'll put it back on when I finish recording here. Right, I'm going to take this out of the thing carefully, bring you up. There's me. Hiya. And here's my boy. There's Clive, and this is where he's taken to sitting. Hey Clive-o. There he is. There's my old boy on the top of my sofa. Here's some of Maddie's new pictures. Oh, I'll go that way to see that one. That's one. Oh, which way am I pulling it? That way. There. There's some of her newer artwork. Not too sure, you probably can't see that one very well. And then there's that one there, and there's a rather lovely one over there. I got her a sheet of MDF, which Robin, she drew the lines on and Robin cut up for her. And she went a bit bananas. It's quite hard to see. That one, there's like a winter forest with things in it. That's a churchyard. Whoa. And then that one's beautiful. And there's a couple of slightly older ones. That's some of her work. And there's my old boy here. My old Clivo. My old favourite, aren't you? I guess he's got that kind of tufty, raggledy look of a really old pussycat. Right, guys, I will see you later. I'll catch you up. We'll try and maybe do a little knit with me later. We'll see how we get along. But for now, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Here it is. Oh dear, it is very sad. Bean cage. So I've essentially got my polytunnel is I think it's 10 foot by 30 foot. I think that's the size of it. And yeah, got a bed there. Oh, not a lot growing. Beetroot, I think, is the only thing growing there. Got a beetroot growing there. I've got a wormery there that won't be very happy at all. Oh, I've got some beets there. Other than that, there is a surviving alpine strawberry. Right, let's see where we are in an hour. Very, very messy, very abandoned. I'll see you in an hour. So, I've been up here an hour. I'm freezing cold. I didn't think I was going to last more than 5 minutes because my fingers froze almost immediately. But what I've done, I've cleared the soil, all the old beans off the bean cage. I've got to scrub the outside, but I do that every year. And I've gone right the way down this side here, taking out all the roots and stuff that's in the middle. I'll get some bags, get rid of that. And I found some beetroots. They're probably going to be woody as hell. 3 random potatoes. So I've got some beetroots. That one is big. They're going to be woody, but I'm going to cook them up anyway, and then the chickens can have them if they're really too woody to eat. I found 3 potatoes. They'll get eaten tonight. And then these are the bean pods. And yes, they're fusty and mouldy and horrible, but give me 2 seconds and I'll show you what they are. Right, that's how cold it is. Robin's just brought me a cup of coffee and look at it. Look at the steam coming off my coffee. Look, here, these are bologna beans, 5 pods, which were in these disgusting pods, all dried up and shriveled. And look what's inside. Absolutely beautiful beans. So these we're not going to eat. They are dried beans. They're meant to be kept and dried and, you know, used in stews and stuff. But that is seeds. We shall see what grows from them. Hopefully, new crop of beans. I'm freezing. My coffee's doing that because I'm absolutely freezing cold and I'm away into the house. Hi guys, I'm back from, just do it that way around, the polytunnel, which was freezing. I've had a good hour sitting here in bed, cuddled up. I've dug out a blanket because it is super cold. This is one I've crocheted corner to corner. I call it coast to coast because C2C round here means coast to coast, not corner to corner. It's just a very straight crochet stitch. Makes a good blanket. With some nice yarn. I was very into the secret yarnery when I first found YouTube, really. So I'm going to do some knitting, and I'll show you why. I've made 2 of these actually, little dingle dangly which I think are about right for a scissor fob. There's a pink one, and there's a blue one. There's beads and sequins and charmy things on them. I've wired them together. I think they should be wired together. I'm not sure. I've never made one before, so I thought I'd give it a go. I've got hosts and hosts of pretty beads and jangly things and joiner-upperers. I've got these quite big. I mean, these would be quite large for your more robust scissors than the very, very fine. Then again, I suppose I've got little lobster claws, but I quite like these big ones, which just, yeah, see that once it's on, doesn't look too big. But I thought to hang on the very bottom, I might like to make one of my little mini animals that I've been making for years. And by making for years, look at my notebook. This is my pattern book, and it has been part of my life for a long, long time. And in here, there's a lot of my home handwritten patterns. So, and the things I'm going to need. Now, if you're a knitter, cap your eyes on these. If you're not a knitter, they probably won't mean very much to you at all. These are Knit Pro carbon needles. They're 1¼ mm. Aren't they fantastic? I'm not using those today. Whoa, sorry, I'm going to try not to wobble my tripod. What I'm using is, I'll need my crochet hook, and what I'm using are my Knit Pros 2¼ mm, which is what I use for all my small toy knitting. I've actually got some carbons in there as well, which are the black ones with the white tip, with the silver tips, stainless steel. These actually have a join where the carbon joins the stainless steel, and they're not the best for this. These are sock needles. They're for knitting socks with, and if you're going to knit socks, these are the boys. If you're like me and don't use the long... Whoa. These things, can't even remember what they're called. I can't remember what they're called. Circular needles. It's not difficult, is it? Right, so here is my bag of animals, and quite a few of these are hand dyed. The greys, because I used to make them in consecutive colours. So there's a light grey, there's a medium grey, there's a dark grey, there's a almost black. That's the same yarn, just dyed up. This is the most glorious yarn. I buy it as a hank of a blank. It's 75% merino and 25% nylon. And then similarly for the pigs, I would dye pinks, a little bit of pink there, and then this, oh, this is thicker, this is double knitting, so that's thicker, it's in an awful tangle. I've always got a yarn bath. Here we are, there's the thinner stuff. This is the 4-ply, and that's, as you can see, I have hand spotted that. That's pale pink with spots. Today I'm going to knit a pink pig in this medium-y pink, but I've also got the ginger pig. Oh, there's one. Right, this is what I'm going to make today. Made from that yarn there, a ginger pig, and you can see with the random markings on it, he'll come out randomly spotty. So I'm going to make this little random guy with his little curly tail. So I'm going to make a little pink one today. I didn't realise I had one made. I'll pull him out. Also in here is my tortoiseshell cat. And I'll make a little cat another. If you like this, I'll show you how I make my little cats. My little cats are rather lovely. Tortoiseshell cat. This one's got some brown in, so this is more the tabby. So there's grey, there's brown, there's orange. Have you seen my nails broken? Ugh, I hate it when they do that. I try and leave them on as long as possible. And then they start catching on everything. So I've also got here Anchor pearl cotton. That's what I do eyes with. So that's a nice new one of the pearl cotton for the eyes. I used to get through quite a lot of those. Also quite useful. Oh, there's half a mouse with a needle in it. So the white I use was a white Angora. This will be goat Angora. This won't be bunny Angora. This is bunny Angora. That I did not dye. That's from Islands of Scotland. This one came down from, and it's the most glorious, peculiar mix of colour. Very old bull now. And anything else in here of note? The other things I use, that's for a camel, are the Drops alpaca. Drops alpaca in natural animal-y colours. For cats, Labradors, things like that. Okay, I've already been talking for 7 minutes. Let's do some knitting. Just thought I'd show you what I've got here. It took me ages to find this bag. Glad I found it. So the only things I need is some fibre fill. That would probably do about, conservatively, about 20 animals. My scissors with the sharp points, and my 4 double pointy needles. And I'll show you how I make a tiny pig. Now the whole point of me sorting a pattern out to make these little guys, right, first thing, I leave a tail because I'm going to be crocheting his tail up last, is that they are made with no seams. So once they're done, they're done. I'm going to move that out of the way so that it's not in our way. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to cast on my stitches. Now, even though I'm going to knit this completely in the round, I'm going to cast on my stitches straight and then increase into each stitch. Now, long before cross stitch, I mean, I've had an Etsy shop for, I think, 2010. I think maybe about 20, might be 2010 or 2011. It'll be interesting actually to go back and look. My shop's still running, but it's empty at the moment, and it was called Emily's Original Knits. Now you can go back and look at the reviews and everything there, which will show you the things that I used to make, because obviously that's the only place you can see the pictures, because all of my listings are deactivated on there at the moment, because yeah, I fell into cross stitch and I fell into working full time and found myself busy. And I used to fill the, see now, I've gone from 6 stitches on one needle, and now I've got 4 stitches spread over 3 needles. So from here on in, I'm knitting in the round. So you go round and round in circles, and you, the needle you finish with, anyone who knits socks will be able to do this sort of thing. It's just tiny knitting. So when you finish one row, you get your free needle, and that's the needle you use next. And you just go round and round in circles. Bear in mind, I've knitted hundreds of these little guys. And these are the things I used to sell. Pigs, cats. My dogs are a little bit bigger, and they look like a sort of a Labrador sitting up. And of course I've got the black and white, which I knitted as Dalmatian. Yeah, Dalmatian. But they're sort of a cartoony take on an animal. So I want to do 9 here. So I'm going to just go round and round for 9 rounds, which I'm going to lose count of very quickly because I'm talking. So I'm just going to grab a pen. See, I don't know what method you'd say I knit with, but I take my right hand is constantly lifting off my needle. I lift it completely clear every time. Used to drive my grandma batty because I knitted very differently, because she held the needle and used her finger somehow to move the yarn. I just can't do that. It's just not how I... Oh, I've got a pen there. It's just not how I work. Right. Get a sheet of paper going. I've got 2 pens now. Never rains, but it pours. That did not go where it was meant to go, so I want to do 9, and I've done 1 so far. So I knit funny. Anyway, so I did my Stitch With Me this morning. I've listened back to it, and it's not so bad. It's just me wombling. So if you're still stitching, I hope you've got something really good on the go. Since I came back in, oh my goodness, I was cold. My fingers, I sort of reached a point where they were working again, but without any real fine motor. Popping those old bean cases open was quite difficult because the end of my fingers were quite numb. So I was kind of glad to get back inside, actually, and I'm really glad that I've done the hour. So the next time I go up to my polytunnel, I'm going to take up some old dog food bags. We save all of those to put more the rubbish you don't really want to pierce through a bin bag. We put that sort of thing in those, and I'll take a couple of those up, squash all of that old stuff in. I won't start a compost heap or anything. One, because I don't look after it and forget about it, and then I find 4 inches of slime ages later. And the other reason is there's an awful lot of stinging nettles, and I've been stung on my wrist by basically dormant stinging nettles, and I react very, very badly to stinging nettles. They really seem to get to me, and my arm will hurt and tingle and feel awful for maybe 48 hours. And I've got, you probably can't see on the camera, whoa, no, because I'm not even in shot, but I've got a couple here that are really, really hurting on my wrist. Anyway, I'm just going to keep knitting. Don't know what's wrong with Clay. He's barking like a barky thing downstairs, so I'm sorry about that, because you can probably hear him. Yes, so I'm going to take up a couple of old dog food sacks, fill them up with all that rubbish, and I'll take it to the tip, and the green waste skip at the tip can process that, because they heat treat, so that'll kill the nettles. Because you can pull up a nettle, leave it on a path, and it'll just grow and put down roots. It can lie there for months, and then as soon as the spring comes, the blooming thing jumps into life, puts down roots, and off it goes. And even though there was quite a hard frost outside of my polytunnel, and the ground, I wouldn't have been able to have turned over the ground at all outside, not that I would want to or would try. Inside the polytunnel, I just had a little hand trowel and it was just fine. I just turned it all over, lifted out any roots of anything that I didn't want, mostly stinging nettles. We have terrible trouble with dock plants as well, which put down a huge taproot. When you pull them up, they look like blooming parsnips, and they're so hard to get up. Oh, my battery is very low. I'm just going to plug my phone in. As you can see, there's a back half of a pig there. Can you see? It's just because I'm knitting in the round, it's just coming out quite well there. Right, I'm just going to get my phone charger. I thought I'd plugged it in already. I'm going to find my cable, hopefully not wobble you too much. There's my cable, and let's just get plugged in. Right, so I'm just going to carry on with my little piggy here. And then I've still only got half a path. So I'm laying the block pavers down the centre between the 2 raised beds. There's a path, and I've only sort of block paved half of it. Now the block pavers are not new. I am using them, recycling them round and round the block. They've been in the front garden, they've been in the back garden, now they're going into the polytunnel. I do a bit of dividing up in my garden. I lay the block pavers. We change our minds, we do something else, and basically the problem with the garden all this time has been I've never stuck to a cohesive plan. I've gone, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. Oh, I've put that path in totally the wrong place. Let's try this instead. And the whole garden, and I have got quite a good sized garden for the UK. I mean, we are terribly, terribly rural, so we've got lots of space, but it's mostly sheds. Obviously the polytunnel takes up an enormous space, being well, it's 7 meters long. I think it's 27, it might even be 30 feet long. It's really, really big, my polytunnel, and 3 meters wide. I think it's 10 foot wide. I think it's 10 by 30, the polytunnel. It obviously takes up quite a large footprint. It's actually larger than a lot of UK back gardens are. I think this is going to be my last round. Anyway, but yeah, the soil inside was still, it wasn't frozen solid. It was, I won't lie, it was freezing cold in there, but it wasn't frozen solid. So I was quite okay in there really. But the initial shock of it was terrible. It was so cold. But a terrible state, and looks an awful lot better now than it did. And I'm pleased I've got the bean seeds, which I will endeavour to plant, not all of them in case they all grow. I'll start them off on a damp piece of kitchen paper in a plastic bag, and if they're going to germinate, they very quickly put out the little white roots. So, and then you can pop them into some compost in a pot, and then you know which ones are growing and which ones aren't. I am terrible for poking in pots to see if things are growing or not. It's one of my, it's not that I'm impatient, but I want to know that things are working and that things are growing. So just going to do a couple more rounds here. So I used to sit and just mechanically knit these little guys, lots and lots of them. I used to supply a lady who had a craft shop down in Cornwall. She's sadly passed away, but oh, I loved her. I never actually met her. I'm still gutted because I never actually met her, but she seemed so lovely. So I don't know if the craft shop's being with 2 partners. They were both potters, so I don't know whether the shop's even still. I assume it's COVID's probably done for it, like a lot of little businesses. But I used to make and send bundles and bundles of these. Oh, probably 20 pigs at a time. Pigs and all sorts of unusual things. And between us, we developed the things that sold and the things that worked really well. And so now I'm just thinking, well, how can I adapt the things that I already do and make, and to suit my new hobby purpose. So I thought, why not try a little pig at the bottom of a little scissor fob. I did give away a little tiny pink pig, one of the ones knitted on the very small needles, which are not as quick to knit as these because it requires an awful lot more manipulation to use the tiny needles. I've got a bit of, because my wool's not been used for a long time, I've got a bit of floof that I'm chasing down the thing there. Okay, so now I'm going to go 2 togethers, which brings together, no, I'm going to do another round first. I've got my pattern, but I'm not really following it. I'm aiming for a slightly smaller pig, you see, so I'm just kind of adapting. I'm just kind of adapting as I'm knitting it. Yeah, so I'm going to quite soon. So what do I want to grow in the polytunnel? Everything I mentioned this morning. Well, I found some shallots growing up there as well, which is very peculiar that there's shallots growing, but there's some shallots and they've put up green stalks, so I shall leave them to themselves, and hopefully eventually I will get some bunches of shallots from there. I don't grow onions. Onions cost literally pennies. An onion's probably 4 or 5 pence to buy, and to grow them it takes a lot of space, and I don't think it's worth growing them. I only want to grow things that, not to make it cheaper, but certainly the green leafies and things like courgettes and cucumbers just taste so much better when they're homegrown. Right, so there's my little pig. That's his body, and it goes into his head. You can see the sort of shape of him. And so I need a little piece of fibre fill, which before you stuff anything, you always kind of work it between your hands a little bit just to make it more even, because when you get it out of the bag it's always lumpy. And then what I do, so I'm poking that down in the gap, and I'll get my scissors and open them just a little bit so that I've got a working bitey tool, and in that goes. Poke that in, and now he's a little stuffed pig. So now I'll do his little snout. So I need to do just a couple of rounds of snout. So I'm back to just 6 stitches now. I'll do just a couple of rounds of this. I didn't used to knit in the round. I used to knit flat and then sew up and everything, and it takes so much longer because you've got seams and, you know, loads of ends, and you've got to think about the shaping. When you knit in the round and you knit it in one piece like this, you can see what shape you're getting because it's there and it's done. So that's that. Did buy some wallpaper in B&Q. Depending on how long it takes me to knit this little guy, I'm hoping we're going to hit about half an hour, because then the video's going to be just that over an hour long. I'll put in the, right, I need to leave enough yarn to knit ears and legs. So my little ball, which is just a little scrap, that's that bit I was chasing. Still got more than, I've got probably another 2, maybe 3 little pink pigs in that little ball there. And put that needle in there, and I need another little bit of stuffing. Again, always, I do it automatically, doesn't cross my mind to even say always do it. Always work your stuffing a little bit. There's little hints and tricks when you knit toys of making them really look brilliant, because a lot of people can knit really well, it's the finishing. It's the FFOing, and that's why I love knitting in the round, because you FFO as you go. It's like a quilt as you go quilt. When you've come to the end of the line, you're done, you're finished. I've got a needle in here. That's quite a big. Now I've been using my little wool needles. That feels huge. You know, the little tapestry needles for cross stitch. This feels enormous. This is a big needle. And all I'm doing now, to close the end of his nose, I am just threading my needle through and pulling the stitches tight. So all 6 of the stitches. 1, 2, there's the end of his nose, pull that tight, and let's see which way his head's going to be. So I've got a pig shape. There's his body, his little nose points upwards, and if I've got any little bits where there's a little gap and you can see the stuffing, I always just put a little stitch. It's just something I just do because I'm here and I've got it in my hand. I'll just do a couple of stitches just to close up any little gaps. Now I want to knit some ears, so there. So he wants an ear here and an ear there. So pick up a needle and find myself a stitch, and I'm going to pick up 3 stitches. So there's one, and I'm just finding a loop, lifting a loop and knitting into it. I'll have that one there. find a loop, knit into a loop there, and then I'll just knit a couple of rows and finish off his little ear. You can see what I mean. There's his face, there's his ear. Yeah, so I've been putting in some stitches while I was waiting for my hands to warm up. I watched Mama Loves You GB had uploaded. Oh, she shows a lot of good stuff. I've got quite different styles, but the more I watch her, the more I like the things that she's stitching. She's much more Blackbirdy, whoa, Brenda Gervaisi, that sort of thing, whereas I'm firmly long dog and full coverage, but I do like a lot of other things. And I've been finally sold on the Dreaming Girl Sal. She started hers and I looked at it and I just saw it was just so much bigger than I'd seen other people's. I don't know if she just held it closer to the camera or she's doing it on a bigger count fabric, and I just went, yes, yes please, I'm going to start that. So when I finish this little pig, there's one ear, there he is, there's one ear. I'm going to get on to Creative Poppy and get that purchased and downloaded, and I'm going to stitch it on. I'm going to change up the colours. I'm going to make the hair, I might pull the colours I've pulled for the my Nora Corbett mermaid for the hair, quite a plain brown for the main colour of the hair, because my hair is a plain boring brown, and I used to call it mousy brown. And then the swirls in her hair I'm going to do with the slightly lighter, more golden brown, because yeah, I wish my hair was like that, but it's not. And I'm going to pull the skin tones and see about it, only the shading on the skin tone does look so nice. If they're very, very pales, or I just don't have the right DMCs, I'm going to improvise, and if anything, I'll just make her a little bit more peachy. Because if I'm going to give her my kind of hair colour, I'll give her my kind of skin tone, because she's for me. So I'm going to get on and do that, and I don't know about the shirt. It looks to me like she's got a raglan sleeved sweater on, so I might change up the colours to something I would potentially make or wear myself. There's a word, isn't there, where you model everything on yourself, but I'm not doing it in a horrible way. I'm doing it in a, well, that's just what I'm planning on doing kind of way. So the way that ear is sitting is not pleasing me, so I'm going to take a little stitch on the side of its ear and just bring it down. I'm just going to, as I tighten up that stitch, that should bring the ear there. Do you see the difference? Into a place where I want its little ear. So now I have a pig with a face and two ears. Same bit of thread, wool, yarn, and I'm coming down. There's his tummy, and I want a leg in each corner. So same again, grab a needle, and I do the legs, something that's called an I-cord. So I'm going to catch up 2 stitches there. So I've got 2 stitches, and I'm going to slide, because these are double points, I'm going to slide my needle to the end. Whoa, not lose them. And then I'm going to knit those 2 stitches. So again, this is like a tube, because I'm going to slide the needle through again, and I'm going to knit them again. And that's called an I-cord. And if you carry on knitting like that, you end up with a piece of, we used to call it Nancy knitting. Crikey, let me think. It's where you used to have 4 nails in an old cotton reel, and you'd work each, used to go yarn over, stitch and hook it through round and round in circles, and you'd end up with a snake would come out of the bottom. It basically made a knitted cord. That's what an I-cord is. It's a knitted cord. but I'm making legs, so I'm doing 2 stitches, 2 rows, and I just find 2 stitches wherever they looks like they're going to pop up, and one, whoa, I've split my thread with my yarn there. Pull that back out. Yes, so the Barbara Anna Dreaming Girl is going to get started probably while this is uploading. Editing, I'll edit, it won't take me long to edit it because I'm just blabbering, aren't I? Unless it's terribly not in shot, in which case I can do a little bit of cropping. If I'm talking too closely to the camera, I'll turn the volume down on it so that I'm not suddenly shouting at you. There's front legs, and then same again. Let's go through and let's come out round the back. Hopefully I'm going to have enough yarn to do 2 more legs. It's been a long time since I've made one of these. I can't quite remember how much of a tail I needed to leave to do the ears and the 2 back legs, so I want to take another stitch perhaps there. Hopefully I'm staying in shot. If I'm off to the side, we might end up making another one and you won't ever see this little pig. I'll just go, here's one I made earlier when in the video that failed. I don't even know if it's something you can watch, but I'm figure that most everybody's stitching. I hope you are, and I hope you're all stitching something really lovely. I'm, as I say, putting in some work on my bountiful bookshelf. I've put in a few more stitches on that while my hands were warming up. I'm really pleased with how that's coming. I'll give you a quick squiz at that when I finish this little pig. There's one of his back legs, so that's 3 legs. Just need to do 1 more leg, and I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn to do his second back leg. I'm going to call that and say I'm going to have to give him a different leg. Right, so I'm going to hopefully got enough left in his tail. So thread, so that's where I started. That was the long piece I left at the beginning, and as you can see, when you start knitting you get a little holey. So I'm just going to put a stitch in that to close his bottom up nicely there, because nobody wants a big hole in your bottom like that. And then I'm going to get my crochet hook. Again, this is a 2.5mm crochet hook, and I'm going to take a loop. Just going to find, all I'm doing is just dredging around until I find a loop I can stick my crochet hook through to make a stitch. Oh, my broken nail just flipped, that just went right through me. And this is how I crochet. I thumb and finger, and I hold my yarn between those two, which get crossed. I get cramp very badly when I crochet because this is how I hold my hand. My left hand doesn't deviate. My left hand's a bit rubbish actually, and I'm just doing a chain for his curly tail. Just a chain that long. You can see it's a hand dye because the colour's varying. Because when I do dye this, it's a little curl. Look, it curls all by itself, the little curly tail. I let it curl whichever way it wants to curl, and then I just bring the yarn, because I've got to finish off the end, so because you can't just leave a dangly end. So I let it do its thing. It curls up by itself, and I'll just take a stitch through it, not to hold it too tightly, just so that it stays as a little curly tail. That's not much more. Right, I'm going to have to get an extra little piece of yarn to do his last leg. So he's got 1 leg to go. So I need to just join that on. I'll just take it in, loose the end in his body, and then I'll take a stitch right across him, and that holds it in very neatly there. Actually, that's not too bad for where I'm putting the leg, because I'm wanting to put his leg about here. You can see how my poor old knit pros get broken. I tuck them in any old place, always have. Sometimes they're in my bun and my hair, sometimes they're tucked into, and if I'm wearing anything knitted, I tuck them into that, like I've just tucked them into the blanket there. That's just how I am. How are we doing? 35 minutes, not too bad. I've nearly finished my little pink pig, and there's his last little back leg. Gosh, Clay's barked the whole time, hasn't he? Sorry about that. So, Dreaming Girl Sal tonight. I have actually got the perfect piece of fabric for it, as long as it fits, which I'm sure it will. Okay, there's his nice little back leg, so I'm just going to hide my end in there. A couple of securing stitches. I'll put that needle back in the page, because it appears to be where it lives. Okay, so there we go. Considering I burbled for 7 minutes, we're at 37, so he has taken me 30 minutes to knit, and I haven't knitted one for a very long time. They used to take me 20 minutes to make one of these, so I can make 3 an hour. So there's his little legs. Does stand up on them. Whoa, out of shot. Little pig. Right, let's get the pearl cotton. There'll be a length already joined up, and then I'd go from the back of the pig up to his eyeball, and you pull it in tight until, where am I going? There, until that disappears in, and then I do 2 little stitches and go over to the other eyeball area. There we go. I used to do 2 little stitches on the end of his snout as well, but I don't do those anymore because I don't think it looks very nice. And there he is. And now he's got eyes. So same again. I just take that through, cut it tight up against, and then you get your needle, because you can see the black. You can see where it's come out there. But if you get your needle and you just move it around the stuffing, it pulls it in and under, and then you can't see it anymore. So you can see how long a spool of pearl cotton lasts me. I think that's the second one I've ever bought. And there is a finished pink pig. He's done. Now, have I got the jump ring? I need a jump ring. I need quite a big jump ring. Right, I can see them. They're up there. Oh, I've got some. Whoa, sorry about that. I've actually got some here. It's mauve, but we won't quibble over a mauve one. And pliers. And I've got pliers and a bit of brown DMC. So this jump ring's already open, so I'm just going to tuck it under 2 stitches on his back like that, and I'm going to tuck it into, going to thread it on there as well, and I'm going to get my pliers and get the other. They've still got a little thingy on the end of them, those ones. So I'm just going to get there and there, and I'm just going to close up this jump ring. There we go. There I have, hanging. What do we think? Do we think that makes a nice little scissor fob with a little piggy hanging from it? I'm just going to reopen that and move it a little bit forwards. It's not quite where I want, how I want it to hang. It's one of those things you've got to do and work out. I want him to hang from about there, I think. So sort of just back from between his shoulder blades. Let's get this here. and this isn't a jump ring, this is a split one, like you put your keys on your, like how you put your keys on your key fob. There. How's that? Is that too long? Do I need to have one of these out? Somebody needs to tell me that. That full length of that is almost the length of my hand. So that's probably 6 inches long. Two, three, four. My tape measure's flipped over. Ooh, I'm doing a really bad job here. Look at this. Why don't I just lay it down? It's still starting to slide off. Right, so he is hanging at about 5.5 inches. How is that for scissor fob length? What do we think? Let me know. Let me know if you think it's a good length, or you think it's good or bad or what. So, there. I'm going to knit a white cat to fit on the other one. But there's a scissor fob. Yes? No? Let me know. Little pink pig. Hand knitted. Got a pig there. Is he a little bit smaller? No, he's exactly the same size. And I'm going to knit a little white cat to go on this blue one. And I'm going to go and kick my dog up his bottom. He won't stop barking. Robin is outside. They're probably teasing each other. We've had terrible trouble with the dogs barking this week. We think there must be a dog in heat somewhere. People who live the other side, we've got like a building next door that's being done up. It's an old Methodist chapel. Immediately that way next door to us. And the other side of that, there's, I think, 3 cottages. On one of them, they have an awful lot of small working Cocker Spaniels, and they're all girls. And I think they come into season all the time. So there's that one. So that's going to have a little white cat, which I may or may not film. Righto. Okay, guys, I've talked a lot of nonsense there. Hopefully you've had some good stitching. But if you have been stitching, look up and have a look at what I've just made. The little pink pig. He's got a little nice face and little cutie ears. And I've put him on a little handmade. There's a nice lampwork bead there, little glass bead, little like pressed out bead there, and a couple of little charms and things, and some sequins. So let me know if you like this, and if you do, if people do like them, I'll make a few more, and we'll see. But that's what I wanted to make today. So it's been a bit vloggy. Again, let me know what you think of this, whether this is okay to stitch to, whether I've just been talking blur, you're just listening to blah, essentially, or whether it's been interesting enough for me to do, because I quite like doing this, little short videos that I all tack together. I might carry on doing little snippets to give me a bit of motivation with the Polytunnel. I might give you a little update, maybe at the end of my stitch with me every week, unless you like the little vloggy style stitch with me type things, in which case we'll carry on. Just let me know, drop me a comment please. Thanks ever so much, and hopefully you've been productive. I'm happy with the bits of work I've done today so far. I'm now going to settle down. Me putting everything away. You saw how much stuffing I used. I've still got tons left, but I might do a little cat next, and I'll make a scissor fob that matches this little ginger wildy pig. But I'm really happy with that. That's exactly what I wanted to make. I've put my needles away without putting my needles away. Right. Okay, guys. I was just going to show you where I've got to on this, which is on my frame. Whoa, where are we? Let's just... there. So I'm still in the land of the lost toys, and I filled in a lot of this. This goes all the way up. I'm not going all the way up. I'm going to come to here, fill in this bit here, and then that fills in there, and I think this bit here fills in with this colour. So I'm going to do that. So you can sort of see, there's her head, there's her face, and there's the arms of the armchair. She's very green, this girl, sleeping on the the chair. I think I'm going to have a good go at finishing this book off because, as I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I reckon there's a good 4,000 stitches to go in on this book. And then I've got to do 8,200, 8,400 maybe. So I'm going to try and finish this book and then I'll do another bit of it and just keep on trucking. Righto guys, I'm going to have a little look at this and see how badly it looks. And I will catch you really soon, but please leave me comments. See you soon guys. Bye bye.